Every now and then I run across a modern toy or action figure that I have no context for. Now, if you followed RetroBlasting for a few years, you know that I don't have Disney Plus because I don't want to give Disney a monthly draw into my bank account. And if you followed us for a few years, you know that I love World War II and that my favorite parts of the MCU are Captain America and Peggy Carter. So when I ran across this Captain Carter and Hydra Stomper on two separate occasions over a period of a few weeks, I have to tell you that my initial reaction was, I know what I hate, and I don't hate this.
Steve!
Hey, Peggy!
Modern toy collecting is a lot like supermarket sweep. When you see it, you grab it and you tuck it under your arm and you run to the register, or you throw it in your cart or whatever you've got with you that day. And that also works now for online purchases as well. So when I was on Amazon buying some other stuff a few months ago, Amazon recommended to me this Marvel Legends Captain Carter action figure. I had no context for it. I had no idea that there was a show coming out, or maybe it was already out, called What If? And the original episode apparently was a what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. So since I don't have Disney Plus, I went onto YouTube and looked at a few clips, and I was pleasantly surprised to see an interesting idea, albeit one that's never going to be in continuity, which is fine. It's just a lark, really. It's a narrative lark. But I appreciated the fact that unlike the Captain America First Avenger movie itself, this What If episode actually had the bravery to have Captain Carter fighting actual German soldiers and not Hydra laser troopers that looked like a bad episode of G.I. Joe, like they did in the first Avenger. These characters were actually shooting real bullets at Captain Carter, who was fighting back in a credible World War II setting. Pretty amazing, I gotta tell you. I did not think that the cartoon version of those events would bring back the real bullets, while the Hollywood movie would try to sanitize it for all of us. But I digress.
Moron! If only I was allowed to do that to Hitler's head.
Now, when I found the Hydra Stomper, it was the last one sitting on the shelves at Target. I wasn't there looking for it. I was just wandering through the toy aisle, admiring all of the unsold Eternals action figures, and there was this beaten up box with a minty Hydra Stomper inside. I didn't really know what it was, but it looked like Iron Man meets World War II, and it was the only one on the shelf. And even though it was a walloping $53, I thought, well, I've already got Captain Carter on the way. This is related to her in some way. I might as well pick this up while I see it. So I picked it up, brought it home, and now I have the duo. The Marvel Legends thing is really repetitive when you think about it. It is one 6-inch figure after another with endless variations coming down the conveyor belt. I laser focused in on figures from the MCU that I liked, and then kit bashed a few as you saw in a previous video, and then I picked out some very select comic book versions of heroes that were important to me from my past, such as Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and the Pride of the X-Men group. However, this is the first time in the Marvel Legends line that I've bought something I have no prior knowledge or association with. I purely bought it because I like Peggy Carter, I like things that are British, and I like World War II. So how do these figures stack up? Well, they still haven't figured out how to give somebody a shield that they can hold securely in their arm. The original Captain America figures always had arm straps that were too tight and were very difficult to get around the figure's forearm. Peggy Carter has the opposite problem. The Captain Carter shield straps are too big for her forearm, so the shield just rattles around constantly, never getting into a good fixed position. Some people have said that her design is rather generic. I tend not to think so. I think this is how you would do a Captain Britain in World War II, and specifically Captain Carter. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think a lot of people are simply married to the idea of the way Captain America looks with the stars and stripes versus the Union Jack. As far as a face sculpt goes, I was really excited by the Captain Carter figure because the face sculpt looked a lot more like Hayley Atwell than the original Peggy Carter from the Captain America First Avenger 2-pack from a few years ago. That being said, I don't really see an opportunity to head swap because of scaling, which has become a constant issue in the Marvel Legends line. The original Peggy Carter figure came with a Captain America from World War II, the way he looked in the leather jacket when he went to rescue Bucky. This was the biggest Captain America figure they'd ever made in a 6-inch scale. He's practically 7 inches tall, and he's easily the tallest Captain America MCU figure the Marvel Legends line has had. And if you look at the evolutionary history of the Marvel Legends line, you'll notice that they keep inching up the scale incrementally with each year that passes. So the original Captain America is very short. The subsequent Captain Americas from Winter Soldier and Civil War and some of the Avengers films get slightly taller. And then you have this first Avengers version who is super tall. And then you have the Endgame Captain America who is somewhere in between. The Captain Carter figure is no different. I understand that Peggy Carter was hit with the super soldier serum, so she's going to get taller just like Steve Rogers did. And she is markedly taller than her original figure from the 2-pack. Fine. But she also towers over most of the Captain America figures in the line as well. Now in canon, I don't know if she was supposed to transform to the exact height that Steve Rogers did when he was given the serum, but ultimately it looks strange because even though we know she's become kind of a Wonder Woman, I'd really like to be able to display her on occasion with a Captain America figure and have a little bit of a height differential to kind of balance out the two characters. And that's not possible here. The only Captain America that rivals her height is the one from the 2-pack, who is a huge, shambling Frankenstein's monster of an action figure. Now, like I said, standing alone, the Captain Carter figure looks great. She has a great face sculpt with great hair and everything like that. She looks really good. Obviously, mileage may vary if you don't like the costume design. I have no problem with it. However, one of the weird quirks of this figure, which again is part of that whole Hasbro just turning a blind eye to the obvious, the most famous image that I've seen from the Disney Plus show is her flying on the back of the Hydra Stomper. The Hydra Stomper has this kind of handle on the back, and of course Steve Rogers pilots it, and she gets to hop on when he turns on his jetpack, and she grabs the handle, and they fly off. She grabs it with her right hand. Not her left hand, her right hand. Now, this handle is incorporated onto the Hydra Stomper figure, and she does have an open hand that sort of can grip things. It's kind of, way open. But it's this hand. It's her left hand. Her left hand is the one that's open. Her right hand is a fist. So if you put the shield on her left arm, she can't grab the handle with her right hand to accurately recreate that moment. You have to actually mirror image it and have her hold on with her left hand and hold the shield in her right. Now that sounds like a small thing, but when it's the most iconic image from this episode and you bother to make these two figures, why would you not get that correct? Or at the very least, give her swappable hands so she can have a gripping hand on her right and a fist on her left as well. They didn't do that. The decisions at Hasbro continue to baffle. Lastly, I just want to say that the Peggy Carter figure does not stand up well. I haven't been able to figure out a way to get this figure to stand up with any kind of reliability. That is a common problem with the Marvel Legends line on a lot of their figures because of those blasted ankle rocker joints, which I know some people think are great. I think they're a terrible idea. I've never thought they're usable for a real action figure. I know adult collectors demand them, but all they do in my book is get loose very quickly, or they're loose right out of the box, and then your figures are just constantly falling over. Not a huge fan of them. I think that's a shame because it's going to make this figure more difficult to keep standing, and she'll probably just end up leaning slightly against the Hydra Stomper on display. Now, as for the Hydra Stomper, it is an impressively scaled hunk of green plastic. It looks imposing, looks impressive, and yet this gets back to the whole thing I've been talking about with the Marvel Legends line. This endless conveyor belt of variation upon variation with a rather uninspired take on a lot of these figures. Yeah, tool that up slightly differently to make it look like the character, put a new head on it, get it out the door. This Hydra Stomper honestly looked like something that could have had some really cool features. It doesn't. It's just the thing with big rubbery pieces of plastic to substitute for the armor plating, probably to cut down on weight and also allow this figure to have some posability without anything being restricted because of unyielding panels. It's early prototype Iron Man armor from World War II. It should have some, I don't want to say gimmicks because I'm not looking for anything spring-loaded necessarily, but they didn't do anything to this. They just said, here's the Hydra Stomper, boom, hope you enjoyed on a shelf. Doesn't do anything. Nothing. At all. Now, if you're asking me, well, Michael, what do you expect it to do? They provided it with interchangeable hands, which is nice. And they provided it with the jetpack contrails, or not contrails, jetpack blasts, so that you can make it look like it's, flying. That's nice. But it would be nice if it had, like, a panel that opened up and things that flipped out. I don't mean spring-loaded. I don't want it to be something that can break or anything like that or restrict its articulation. But there's enough room on this figure to do more than what they did, especially for $53. But what do you do with it aside from sitting it on a shelf or laying it down like this and then having it sort of fly with her grabbing the handle with the wrong hand? And there's no flight stand with it, so you're going to have to cobble together a flight stand or do like I did and just sit it on these acrylic risers, which, I mean, yeah, it looks cool standing there, as long as that's all it's doing. But it's got this machine gun on one arm, and it looks like things should happen. It looks like there should be a flip-out panel on a forearm here, and maybe like a chest pauldron can open up on this one side, and then you could attach, a gun into it or something that they could, provide as one of the accessories. Now, I know that they've done bigger figures in the past. I have the Incredible Hulk from Age of Ultron. I don't expect him to have flip-out gadgets. He's the Hulk. I get it, all right? But I know in the past they've done the Hulkbuster, and I know they've done a number of others like that, like the Ironmonger. They've done some big figures. If they had gadgets, I don't know what they are, or if they had them at all, because I didn't buy those. But in this case, it feels like for the price point these are at now, $53 for this bigger figure, it should have a little more than interchangeable hands and, the jetpack flares or flames. Being Iron Man armor, give us some stuff to change it up a little bit, I don't expect light up eyes or anything, but give us something. I do get the feeling that this is going to be my second to last Marvel Legends purchase. I did purchase the Excalibur 3-pack. It's on pre-order. I really wanted the Shadowcat from that set because I grew up reading Excalibur comics in the 90s. That may very well be my very last Marvel Legends purchase. Because while this line is continuing to pump out figures, it's not innovating. And I don't mean that in some way where I'm going back on what I said about how I hate gimmicks in action figures. I don't like gimmicks in action figures like squeeze legs and all that kind of stuff, and I don't want them to suddenly do things where these figures have spring-loaded arms and shield-throwing action. I like that the figures are basic articulation and there's nothing there that's power-assisted or anything like that. I think that's great. But given the number of figures, the sheer number of figures that are just coming off this line, I think between Black Series and Marvel Legends, there's only so much more Hasbro 6-inch figure making I can absorb into my collection without feeling very lackluster about it. It's like, oh, what's Hasbro doing now? Oh, this is another round of 6-inch stuff. Okay, great. That's what they do. I've already heard scuttle that people are hoping beyond hope that this Indiana Jones 5 film will inspire new Hasbro action figures. And I'm like, what? Is it going to be like the Black Series or Mattel's 6-inch Jurassic Park Amber collection? Like, what are they going to call it? The Khaki collection? The Tan collection? The Leather collection? That actually doesn't sound right now that I said that. You know what I mean? The Bullwhip collection. I mean, it's just going to be what? A bunch of hard-to-find 6-inch action figures that are only going to barely skim the surface, like Ghostbusters Plasma. Hasbro is really a one-trick pony at this point. And you have a prime opportunity with something like this Hydra Stomper to give the figure a little bit of extra business, because that's what the figure is depicting. It's depicting Stark armor. There should be something there. But they didn't go there. They just said, please give us $53 and enjoy another hunk of display plastic. And so that makes Black Series and Marvel Legends very much pick and choose lines. These are not collect them all lines. They're collect them all lines for the unhinged, but for everybody else, people who know they're only going to be able to make so much money in a lifetime, yeah, I'm going to pick these 5 figures and then walk away. You know, I'm not going to buy these 24 figures over here that they're coming out with later. So yeah, a nice duo, nothing really groundbreaking here. As far as Marvel Legends goes, it's a nice duo. I've seen some people saying, oh yeah, the Captain Carter figure is going to be the figure of the year for 2021. I like it. It looks nice, but by what margin is it a figure of the year? It's just another Marvel Legends figure. It's one I chose over 60 others, but other people probably chose some of the other 60 over this one. In fact, I know they did. So going forward, I probably won't be buying a lot more Marvel Legends, not because I don't like these for what they are, but I am disappointed in what the Hydra Stomper could have been. And 6-inch with Hasbro, it's become so pat at this point. There's no real need for me to buy anymore. I've got what I need. Thanks for watching this, guys, and we'll see you on the next video.